Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead. You may have heard this phrase before. The term Necronomicon frequently appears in fictional stories, and its origin takes us back to the genius mind of H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft's works have influenced countless creators, shaping genres and narratives across the globe. Even today, his legacy lingers, not only in the realm of cosmic horror, but also in virtually every type of fictional storytelling. Among his myriad of fascinating ideas, one of the most universally recognized creations is the Necronomicon, a fictional book brimming with dark rituals, forbidden sorcery, and mysterious arcane knowledge. According to Cthulhu mythos lore, the Necronomicon was initially titled Kitab al-Azif and was composed in the 8th century by Abdul al-Hazard, a fictional character created by Lovecraft. In the mythos, Abdul al-Hazard was said to have been a poet residing in Sana'a, the capital city of Yemen, serving in a minor royal court. He was known to worship forbidden deities like Yog-Sothoth and Cthulhu. For unknown reasons, al-Hazard left Sana'a and spent the next 10 years wandering through vast deserts, documenting forbidden knowledge. During his travels, he reportedly visited ancient and mystical cities such as Iram, the City of Pillars, and the ruins of Egypt and other mysterious temples. For the remainder of his life, he resided in Damascus, Syria, until he mysteriously vanished in the year 738. It was during this period that al-Hazard is said to have composed his magnum opus, the Necronomicon or al-Azif. Before going further, it's crucial to remember, the Necronomicon is purely fictional. It never existed in reality, nor did Abdul al-Hazard. Both were created entirely by Lovecraft for his stories. However, as the years passed, rumors arose claiming that the Necronomicon might have once existed or could still exist in secret. These rumors have taken on a life of their own, giving rise to countless myths and speculative theories that, ironically, far exceed the scope of Lovecraft's original works. Interestingly, H.P. Lovecraft himself encouraged other writers to expand upon his fictional creation, and it is through this collaboration that the Necronomicon's reputation grew. According to lore, the book began circulating among philosophers and occultists for over 200 years. In the year 950, a Greek philosopher named Theodorus Philidas was said to have translated the work into Greek, renaming it the Necronomicon. However, this version supposedly influenced many to indulge in horrifying and atrocious acts. The Greek chapter of the book's story ends in tragedy, as legend has it that the text was banned, burned, and destroyed in 1058 by the Patriarch of Constantinople. Despite this destruction, whispers of the text continued quietly. For centuries, the Necronomicon was discussed in hushed tones, as speaking too openly about it could lead to imprisonment, or worse. But the book's story doesn't end there. It is said that by 1228, the Necronomicon was translated from Greek into Latin by a scholar named Olaus Wormius. Unfortunately, this version fared no better than the Greek one. The Latin Necronomicon was outlawed by the Pope himself, but would repeatedly resurface sporadically across Europe until the 17th century. Although supposedly rare or even unattainable, snippets of the Necronomicon's contents have been widely speculated about. Topics include descriptions of otherworldly beings and entities from alternate dimensions. Certain chapters allegedly detail complicated rituals to resurrect the dead or even transform a human into an astral being. The book is also said to contain many bizarre, cryptic symbols and inscriptions that defy understanding. In the original Arabic version, it's rumored to have included spells and exorcisms that never made it into the Latin translation, as the latter was significantly lighter in content compared to its predecessor. For instance, the book is said to include a summoning ritual for communicating with, or even visiting the domain of Nyarlathotep, a chaotic and shape-shifting deity within Lovecraft's mythos. The text references ancient mysteries, including allusions to Antarctica and terrifying beings older than even the most ancient life forms. One section predicts the rebirth of a high priest named Nodens and foretells his retribution for the death of his father. This prophecy describes his rise to seize a throne and rule over the world while summoning monstrous entities to exact vengeance. One vivid passage declares the earth will drink the blood of pharaohs, an apocalyptic vision birthed from the depths of the Necronomicon's narrative. Some believe this mysterious book may contain gateways to incredible arcane power. Alleged practitioners describe detailed instructions for opening portals in specific circumstances, often at sacred or forbidden sites such as Syria or the plateaus of Lung. Through these legends and fabrications, modern enthusiasts have rewritten and adjusted different versions of the Necronomicon, adding fresh layers of detail and specificity that further fuel belief in its authenticity. Readers of these editions often walk away genuinely convinced that the book must either be real or at least inspired by some underlying truth. So, why does this fictional book captivate so many? Perhaps it's the mystique of the unknown. The layers of uncertainty that hide its supposed origins and purpose compel people to speculate, to investigate, and to believe. Even when Lovecraft himself was asked where he drew his inspiration for the Necronomicon, he emphatically explained that it came from his dreams, often terrifying nightmares. "I created the Necronomicon in my sleep," he famously declared. One can't help but marvel at his boundless imagination, imagining what horrors must have haunted the author's dreams to inspire the creation of such an infamous book. The name Necronomicon is rooted in Greek etymology. Lovecraft once defined it as meaning an image of the laws of the dead. Others have translated it slightly differently over time. For instance, some interpret it as Book of the Dead, or even Names of the Dead. Regardless of the linguistic nuances, the general consensus is that the book serves as a repository of information about the dead and the mysterious forces surrounding them. The Necronomicon draws striking parallels to ancient magical practices, not only in meaning but also in tone, weaving together Lovecraft's signature esoteric style with an aura of macabre mystery. In 1927, Lovecraft wrote a short piece titled The History of the Necronomicon, though it wasn't published until after his death. This text purportedly describes the fictional history of the book and defines Al-Azif as originating from the nocturnal sounds of demons. According to the story, the Necronomicon is a dark and dangerous tome that originates in evil itself. Lovecraft claimed that only 5 original copies existed, each housed in global institutions, including fictional ones. Among them are places like the British Museum in London, the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, the Widener Library at Harvard University, and the Miskatonic University Library in the fictional city of Arkham from Lovecraft's stories. However, many copies supposedly circulated over time, with varying authenticity. True original copies, if they existed, might, according to legend, lie in the hands of private collectors, making them rare, impossible to access, and prohibitively expensive. These editions, if real, are believed to overflow with incomprehensible symbols, dark lore, stories of forbidden knowledge, and instructions for rituals capable of altering the fabric of reality. One of Lovecraft's fictional stories, The Thing on the Doorstep, includes references to the Necronomicon, describing it as containing formulas for transferring human consciousness. This passage demonstrates the kind of power and influence this fictional book holds within Lovecraft's mythos. From elaborate rituals to summon ancient gods to practices for invoking other-dimensional beings, the Necronomicon is central to many of the bizarre imaginings found in his cosmic horror universe. It is said that the book is so deeply filled with forbidden knowledge that even reading it could lead to catastrophic consequences, including death. The book also suggests that long ago, the Earth might have been inhabited by unfathomably strange creatures, beings of great antiquity and unfathomable terror, before the eventual rise of humankind. Despite these fragments of information cited throughout Lovecraft's works, he never fully described the Necronomicon in physical detail or explicitly elaborated on all its contents. Instead, the book remains intentionally enigmatic. The only descriptions offered are vague, mentioning a book bound in leather made of human skin and sometimes wrapped in metal bindings. In some variations, the title of the book itself is deliberately hidden, leaving it without identification, a mystery within a mystery. The lack of clear depictions of the Necronomicon only heightens the allure surrounding it. Readers and admirers of Lovecraft's work became obsessed with the idea, speculating endlessly about what the forbidden tome might look like, what secrets it might contain, and whether it could indeed exist. Over time, this obsession gave rise to hoaxes, with fake copies of the Necronomicon appearing in bookstores or being sold by shady individuals. People were eager to believe in the existence of the book, blurring the lines between fiction and reality. H.P. Lovecraft frequently received letters from fans asking whether the Necronomicon was real. His response was always clear: no, it's entirely fictional. But that didn't stop unscrupulous individuals from exploiting the curiosity surrounding it. Throughout the 20th century, many counterfeit versions claiming to be the original Necronomicon were produced and sold. In the 1970s, a new sinister element was added to the Necronomicon mythos. A writer using the pseudonym Simon published a book titled The Simon Necronomicon, marketed as a legitimate ancient text of arcane knowledge. The Simon Necronomicon wasn't directly related to Lovecraft's versions, and in fact, drew inspiration from Sumerian mythology instead. Despite this divergence, the book's enigmatic marketing campaigns caused waves of fascination and fear. Its publishers went so far as to claim that it might be the most dangerous book in the world. The Simon Necronomicon turned into nothing less than a cultural sensation, selling over 800,000 copies by 2006. Its commercial success was so enormous that additional volumes were later published. The popularity of this book speaks to humanity's continued fascination with the unknown, as well as the enduring power of Lovecraft's original idea. However, many literary critics and readers became disillusioned with the Simon Necronomicon. In 1998, another book titled Faux Necronomicon was published to specifically debunk Simon's claims, proving that the work was entirely fictional. Besides Simon's version, countless other renditions of the Necronomicon started appearing, each offering new spins on the lore. The sheer volume of these different editions demonstrates how deep the obsession runs. From dedicated mythos fans to the simply curious, everyone was drawn to the possibility that perhaps some truth might lie at the heart of the Necronomicon. Why does the Necronomicon stir such deep fascination? Why are so many people compelled by the idea of this fictitious book? The answer lies in its mystery. The Necronomicon inhabits that delicate space between reality and fiction. Lovecraft's unwillingness to provide full descriptions of the book's contents only served to enhance its intrigue. Humans are naturally drawn to the mysterious and the forbidden. A book shrouded in secrecy and filled with whispered horrors will inevitably spark curiosity, compounded by the suggestion that it might contain extraordinary power. This allure is further heightened by Lovecraft's masterful storytelling, which skirts the boundaries of what we know and what may lie beyond. In interviews, Lovecraft attributed the inspiration for the Necronomicon to his dreams, saying that many of his most vivid and terrifying ideas were born in his nightmares. This revelation led fans to wonder just how horrifying Lovecraft's subconscious imagination truly was. The etymology of Necronomicon also carries a certain dark poetry. Lovecraft derived the name from Greek, defining it as an image of the laws of the dead. Over time, this phrase has been interpreted in different ways. Some believe it translates to the Book of the Dead or the Book of Names of the Dead. Others translate it as the Book of the Laws Governing the Dead. All these variations reinforce the haunting and mysterious essence of the text. In 1927, Lovecraft wrote the history of the Necronomicon, a fictional backstory to the book itself. Unpublished until after his death, this text gives readers a timeline filled with shadowy details about the book's origins, banning, and disappearance. Lovecraft claimed that the Necronomicon, originally titled Al-Azif, originated from the howls of demons heard in the night. It was a book of unspeakable curses, warnings, and forbidden knowledge. Lovecraft also introduced the concept that only 5 copies of the true Necronomicon existed in the world. They were said to reside in libraries or institutions such as the British Museum in London, the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, Harvard's Widener Library, and Lovecraft's fictional Miskatonic University in Arkham. Even with these fictional placements, the allure of owning or even seeing the book continues to captivate readers. While many counterfeit copies and prop versions of the Necronomicon have surfaced, none of these editions claim to be entirely reliable or authentic. Modern replicas mostly consist of decorative embellishments, cryptic symbols, or unrelated mythological concepts reworked to fit the Necronomicon's mystique. That being said, if a true, authentic version of the Necronomicon were to exist, it would likely be held in the private collections of eccentric, wealthy individuals, making it essentially impossible to access or verify. The Necronomicon endures as one of the most compelling literary mysteries. Whether adorned with cryptic symbols, forbidden rituals, or terrible prophecy, it continues to blur the boundaries between fiction and reality. As Lovecraft intended, its vague depiction fosters endless speculation and creativity. Readers wonder about extraterrestrial horrors, unthinkable knowledge, and the limits of human understanding. Lovecraft successfully created a fictitious story so real and layered that it became something larger than itself. The book, though imaginary, is timeless. So, what do you think? Does the Necronomicon feel real to you? Why do you think this book continues to fascinate so many different kinds of people? Is it the darkness, the idea of forbidden power, or simply the mystery? Let me know your thoughts. See you next time.